homage to Him, the Blessed One, the Exalted One, the fully enlightened One. What makes you a true Buddhist? This is what we are going to talk today. Some people are born to be Buddhists. They are born into Buddhist families, and they recognize themselves as Buddhists. But these people, they do not know who the Buddha is. They also do not know what the Dhamma is. And perhaps they do certain rites and rituals, and they believe that they are following the path of the Buddha. There is another group of people. They are also Buddhists by birth. They are born into Buddhist families, but they make efforts to study the Dhamma and understand the Buddha's teachings. Through the Dhamma, they come to know who the Buddha is and what his teaching is, and they also practice the path of the Buddha. There is a third group of people. They are not born into Buddhist families. They are born into different cultures and faith, but in life, they come across the teachings of the Buddha, and they start to learn the teachings, examine it, and eventually they will come to terms that this is the teachings that they want to follow. They will convince themselves to follow the path of the Buddha, and they also recognize themselves as followers of the Buddha. Now, generally speaking, all these three groups of people can be labeled under the word Buddhist. But what really is a Buddhist from a Dhamma point of view? No one is a Buddhist by birth, but by practice. When it comes to this particular point of practice, understanding and practice must go hand in hand in order to realize the ultimate goal of the Buddhist teaching, which is enlightenment. Pariyatti, Patipatti, and Pativeda. Understanding, practice, and realization. So now, with this, we can ask the question, what makes you a true Buddhist? By definition, Buddhist is someone who takes three refuge. One who goes for three refuge also undertake the threefold training, which is the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, when we say that going for three refuge, sometimes can give misunderstanding when we say we take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. What does it mean when we say that we take refuge in the triple gems or three refuge? When it is a rainy time, to escape from the rains, we might go to a shelter, and we take refuge in that shelter. When it is flooded, we might go to a place which is secure, a highland, a mountain, to escape from the flood. In that sense, the refuge is a secure place, a safer place. So Buddhism, we understand that in this birth and death cycle, we are undergoing a lot of miseries and sufferings in samsara. Driven by craving, fettered by ignorance, we are repeatedly going through birth and death cycle. No doubt there is pleasure, but that is temporary. When we satisfy one desire, another desire arises in its place. When we satisfy that, another one arises. So driven by craving and fettered by ignorance, we are going round and round. We have a lot of defilements. Because of these defilements, we undergo suffering. Stress, tension, agony, miseries, all these are outcome of this repeated existence. We are not free from getting old, falling sick, death, separation, and manifold sufferings. So Buddhists understand that this cycle of existence, which is full of suffering, can put an end. We do not need to suffer. There is a way out of it. In order to overcome suffering, we need to achieve enlightenment. So when a Buddhist understands it, that the cause of the suffering is nothing but the defilements, and the solution to the problem of suffering is eradication of the defilements, then he starts to follow the Buddha, the enlightened one. Dhamma, the teachings that leads to enlightenment. Sangha, the noble disciples who achieve the enlightenment. So Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, they are three guiding principles. And when you say that we take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, it means we rely on these three jewels in order to cross beyond this samsaric suffering and attain the secure place, peaceful place, which is the freedom of suffering, which is enlightenment. So samsara is seen as a place which is a dangerous place and which is full of miseries and sufferings, but Nibbana is seen as a secure place. So we take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha in order to attain that security. That is why we call them three refuge. We also call them three jewels, Tiratana. Now in ordinary sense, in mundane world, jewels are very precious. Gold, jewelries, diamonds, gems, and they are very expensive and very precious. But for someone who trained himself to attain enlightenment and someone who dedicated for spiritual cultivation, for that person, Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, these three guiding principles are more precious and priceless. That is why they are known as three jewels. So true Buddhist will take refuge in three jewels, and then he will undertake the threefold training. Now when it comes to this threefold training, we train our ethical, spiritual and intellectual faculties in order to eradicate the defilements. Defilements are the root causes of the suffering. Now, human defilements are rooted in the human mind. They have got a generic structure. In the deepest level, the defilements are in sleeping states, what we call anusaya state. An ordinary human being may look peaceful and joyful and happy, but even at that time, the defilements are in sleeping state, like a sleeping volcano. But then the second stage, these defilements are in emotionally active level, pariyuttana state. And if these sleeping defilements were to get arousing, and then they become active in our mind. So there can be occasions in our mind we are full of anger, hatred, ill will, and many other defilements. We are suffering from these defilements, but we still control our speech and actions. But mentally we are boiling with defilements. This is like active volcano, not yet erupted. Then if these defilements get further arousing, and they can outflow through our speech and actions, which is transgression stage, vitikama stage. So when these defilements, greed, hatred, and delusion, and related defilements, when they come out from our mouth, they can become very harsh, vulgar words, violent words. They can bring miseries for ourselves and others. When these defilements come out from our body, they can be violent action, evil, wicked, immoral actions. So all these are rooted in the human mind as defilements. So these defilements, as long as they are rooted in the human mind, and we are bound to suffer. And we are bound to undergo repeated birth and death cycle. So Buddhist teachings teach how we can uproot these defilements perfectly, permanently, and irreversibly. So Buddhists will go to take three refuge with this understanding, with the aim of uprooting these defilements. Then he will take threefold training prescribed by the Buddha in the Noble Eightfold Path in order to uproot these defilements. So Noble Eightfold Path precisely, effectively tackle these defilements and uproot them from its roots. Noble Eightfold Path are divided into three sections: training in virtue, training in concentration, and training in wisdom. Now, when you train in virtue, we uphold righteous principles. As a lay Buddhist follower, you are supposed to uphold 5 righteous principles, 5 precepts. And when we observe these precepts and undertake the training of virtue, what we are trying to do? We are trying to stop these defilements outflowing through our speech and actions. So we refrain from killing, stealing, injuring. We refrain from speaking harsh and vulgar way or harmful way. And in this way, through our body and speech, we take actions to prevent defilements are overflowing. Then this is called sila, which is development of virtue. But still defilements are in the mind in active level. And then we go to the second training, what is called training in concentration. We adopt meditations. We undertake meditations. Through meditation practices, we can calm down our mind. We can achieve concentration. If you have got the nature of getting angry and agitated easily, then we practice metta through metta, we can reduce these defilements. If you have mind which is stressed, tense up, then perhaps we practice mindfulness on breath. In that way, we can reduce the stress, tension, and make the mind calm. If you are a lustful character, which is the dominant defilements, and perhaps you are encouraged to practice meditation related to impurity nature and contemplate such kind of subjects. So in this way, there are different types of meditation subjects to tackle these defilements which are active in human mind in emotional level. So when you undertake these meditations, they are known as training the mind to achieve concentration, samadhi. Still these defilements, even though you train your mind to achieve calmness and peace, they are still remain in your mind in sleeping state, dormant. So we need to uproot them. In order to uproot them from its roots, we need to uproot the delusion, ignorance, where all these defilements are hold up or rooted. In order to uproot the ignorance, the Buddha discovered a unique way, a method of training. And this meditation method is known as insight meditation, vipassana. So the insight meditation is the unique discovery of the Buddha. With these meditations, we can uproot these defilements perfectly, permanently, and irreversibly. So when the defilements are totally uprooted, our mind achieves perfect peace, perfect bliss, perfect happiness, perfect joy, what we call enlightenment, nibbana, release from suffering, liberation. Santoso bhagava samataya dhammang deseti. Buddha, having achieved peace, he teaches the Dhamma to other human beings in order to achieve perfect peace. Dantoso bhagava dhammataya dhammang deseti. Buddha, having tamed himself, he teaches the Dhamma to the other human beings to tame themselves. Bodhoso bhagava bodhaya dhammang deseti. Buddha, having achieved perfect understanding, he teaches the Dhamma to other human beings for the purpose of perfect understanding, realization, wisdom. Parinibbutoso bhagava parinibbanaya dhammang deseti. Buddha, having overcome all suffering and having achieved perfect enlightenment, parinibbana, he teaches the Dhamma to other human beings to attain final nibbana. So today, Vesak full moon day, today is a wonderful day, a memorable day, very important day for the Buddhist. Today we mark the birth, enlightenment, and great passing away of our supreme teacher, the perfectly enlightened Buddha. Buddhas do not arise in the world often. And as the Buddha himself says, Kiccho manussa patilabho, rare and difficult is to achieve this human birth. Kiccang maccana jivitang. And the life of a human being is very short and beset with many miseries and sufferings. It is fragile and it can end at any time. Kiccho saddhamma savanang. And teachings of the Buddha, the true Dhamma, is difficult to come across. Kicho Buddhanang Upado. The enlightened ones do not appear so often in this world. So friends, even though the Buddha is not living today, this is still the era of the Buddha, the time of the Buddha. Sublime teachings of the Buddha, with its crystal clarity, is still available. And you are a human being who is capable of awakening. What should be done by a wise human being who understands this precious Dhamma is to refrain from the evil, to cultivate the good, then to follow the noble eightfold path. When we practice in this way, we will go from dark to light. We will move from light to light. So in time to come, when favorable conditions arise, we will break through this delusion and we will be awakened to the supreme enlightenment. That should be the goal of a true Buddhist.